Good evening, guys. Thanks for joining us again. Yet another episode on East Coast Journalists. Today, we're going to discuss, we're going to post a lot of documents, and Dan is going to walk us through some of the documents. And we also going to go a brief description of who we're going to talk about. And first would be on our agenda would be the Chief State's Attorney Christian Watson from New Britain Superior Courthouse on 20 Franklin Square, New Britain, Connecticut. 06051. Their phone number is 860-515-5270. We're also going to speak about the attorney O-Brien Law-firm and what their egregious movements and acts also shows us what we need to do as a collective, as people of this great country, what we need to do as to combat people like this office here. And they are located on 411 Center Street, Manchester, Connecticut, 06040 860-328-9870, and their office number is 860-646-3500. Once again, his name is Attorney John O'Brien from the O'Brien Law-firm. Officer manager, who is his wife, Jennifer O'Brien. We got lots to speak about her right there. Keep in tune on that name, Jennifer O'Brien. And last and not least, we would like for our viewers and listeners, if you see and entertain and you want to help stop us from people like these to continue these egregious acts, please contact the President of the United States, Vice President J.D. Vance, the United States Department of Justice. There's a Leonard C. Boyle and a David Sheldon, Assistant U.S. Attorney at 157 Church Street in Connecticut, New Haven, Connecticut. And please log on to www.justice.gov.usa to give and let the higher ups, the people that protect us, the people that so-called we voted in and we give our lives to, give them a heads up, because more than likely they don't know what's going on. So if you guys are entertained, I'm going to let Dan take over and fill us in on the rest. Go ahead, Dan.
Thank you, Manny. I would also like to enter in for the record Stephen Jacob, the State of Connecticut Division of Criminal Justice, State Attorney's Office, 300 Corporate Place, Rocky Hill, Connecticut, 06067. And his direct phone number is 860-258-5986. And with that, let's begin. Today, what we're discussing is Anna Kyle's handwriting identification report on Karen Lee Muir, which is my partner. So the documents will be posted at the end of this podcast. And I would like to say that we will also be posting on the next episode my handwriting identification report. So let's just go with Karen for tonight, and we'll go from there. So this report is very exclusive. It has evidence that shows that Dina Jeffrey, out of 117 Wells Road in Wethersfield, Connecticut, that's her office, and don't forget she lives in East Hampton, Connecticut, forged Karen's name 6 times and was able to also get a HIPAA violation by sending it to our registered dietitian, Marlene Philpotts. Attorney O'Brien out of Manchester, Connecticut had enough with the forgery experts, Anna Kyle's forgery examination, to file a 6-count forgery and 2 counts of HIPAA for me and Karen, which is a combination of 8 charges. And Attorney O'Brien dropped the ball. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring up Stephen Jacob, the police inspector, I filed a complaint anonymously with him. He contacted the Wethersfield Police Department on Celestine Highway and found out that Attorney O'Brien was handling the case. Now, Attorney O'Brien made a statement to Stephen Jacob that there's no forgeries that were committed. But as you can see on these documents, there's a lot of forgeries that Dina Jeffrey did. And it's a whole report, and I paid a lot of money to make sure I have the evidence and forthcoming. What I'd like to also note is that 117 Wells Road in Wethersfield, Connecticut, to recap, has a mold infestation, which means that Imagineers is covering that up. Now, in Wethersfield, Connecticut on 117 Wells Road, the health department knew about it, the health department was informed about it, and the health department turned the other way. So that reports on our prior podcast. So I also would like to say on my colleague Manny, Leonard and David over at the State of Connecticut Department of Criminal Justice, I filed a citizen's complaint, an arrest on the person that forged my signatures and my partner's signatures. Anna Kyle sent those people in New Haven the handwriting document examination. Attorney O-Brien also said to them that there is still no forgery here. He was trying to cover his ducks and everything like that. Attorney O-Brien must be one of the, in my humble opinion, the worst attorneys ever. Ever. I'd like to get back to Dina Jeffrey at 117 Wells Road. The state of Connecticut and the federal government on HUD side, they all knew what Dina Jeffrey was doing, which was forging my signature and Karen's signature. They were also informed that they were forging many more signatures. Anna Kyle's words verbatim is, Dina Jeffrey is the best forgery artist I have ever seen in my entire career. That has to say a statement right there and then. So with that information, everyone on the description list should have known that this was a forgery. This was all forged. Everything was forged. They all turned a blind eye, or either they didn't know the law. And if that's the case, Manny is 1000% correct. They need to get out of office and go find a job, or what they need to do is just step down. I mean, they're not qualified to be in office. When a document examiner licensed by the state and federal government says that their signature is being forged, and you have a corrupt attorney or a lack of better judgment for Attorney O-Brien to actually tell them that, and for them to believe it is absurd. Wouldn't you agree, Manny?
Yeah, definitely.
It's absurd. It's absurd that all these people would believe Attorney O-Brien or just turn the other way. I mean, come on. These are HUD documents being forged. This is the case that Imagineers did not want in federal or state court. This would be the case that would destroy their reputation. So that's why we created our podcast, East Coast Journalists, to put these people responsible for what they have done. Now, we have a problem in this town of Wethersfield. It's called, on 117 Wells Road in Wethersfield, Connecticut, there is a mold problem, which Imagineers is trying to hide from the authorities, as we all know. So maybe this will wake up the town of Wethersfield and get those liberals down there to make sure that this mold is remediated. It's just not in my apartment. It's all throughout 117 Wells Road. Wethersfield turns a blind eye to that, the health department. And the other thing I wanted to also note is that Dina Jeffrey is continuing to forge signatures. Anna Kyle said it. We actually have another document that we are going to release that was given to us by another resident at 117 Wells Road that will be released down the road, and everyone will know. I also want to let everyone know that we are going to touch in other podcasts about the corruption of the Connecticut Grievance Committee and the Connecticut Bar Association with attorney Jennifer Shukla. That's her name. Both of them are extremely corrupt. They don't care about the citizens of Connecticut. What they care about is the bottom line, money in their pocket. All nepotism. I was at the grievance committee court and I spoke my mind. And that's also going to be on there. And Attorney O-Brien was very embarrassed in front of his colleagues. Attorney O-Brien's wife, as we previously mentioned, committed tax evasion and stole from her deceased mother. We have those documents. We will be posting them in another podcast, and not tonight. And it's almost like on the O-Brien Law-firm, the left doesn't know what the right's doing. In other words, when Jen does something, John doesn't know something. And, Jen O-Brien had a tax evasion and took this case back in December of 2021 at the District Columbia Courthouse in Bridgeport, Connecticut. It's shameful. It's really shameful. If you're going to go ahead and hire the O-Brien Law Firm, go to the District Columbia Courthouse in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and pull that FOIA request. It's also available on the website as well. All of this information that we're given to our podcasters is valuable information because you have the power, you have the voice. As my colleague Manny says, we all want you to look at this evidence. This is one of the bolt full of evidence that we're actually going to hand out today with all these documents from Anna Kyle, the greatest document examiner in our country, licensed. So with that being said, I would like to shame Christian Watson, shame Attorney O-Brien, shame Jennifer O-Brien, the office manager. I would like to shame Leonard and David for not acknowledging my citizen's arrest. And lastly, Scott Jacob, I'd like to shame him as well in Rocky Hill, Connecticut. Manny, back to you.
Well, I just want to reiterate to let everyone know, because on layman's term, I'm not too bright. It seems that Imagineers and their cohorts, with their nefarious acts, it looks like they have everybody in the bag and they have America blinded. So I think that's the breakdown. I'm just breaking it down so I understand myself of what's going on, because this is a lot to unload and a lot to absorb. I think we're doing great, letting the people know what's happening right underneath their noses. I'd like to give thanks to my Ñaño brothers out there, and you know who you talk about, Equa. My Ecuadorian brothers, that's David, that's Diego Duque, and that's Rafael Martinez. Those, you know who I'm talking about. Thank you so much, guys, for your help. Ñaño, Ñaño for life. Anyway, back to you, Dan.
Very good. Thank you. So we're going to let you view the hand document. We're going to let our audience view the handwriting identification report for Karen Muir. And like Manny said, we're going to have my document handwriting report. We're going to have the Patricia Lane report filed down the road. We're going to have, for the Elder Abuse Neglect Department, we're also going to have the grievance committee. We're going to make sure that's on the podcast, the documents to go with that. And further to come, we're going to make sure that the Connecticut Bar Association and those documents are posted. There's a lot of corruption through this, and there's a lot more documents that we're going to post. We are going to give the American people the facts. We are going to speak under our constitutional obligation under the First Amendment. And I would just like to say thank you for listening to East Coast Journalists. In that respect, I would like to say God bless the United States of America and our planet. In Jesus' name, amen. Until next time, we will see you on the next podcast. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Good night.